its current path, then they have no chance of getting in there to do any of the work. The only work that's available at this point is the east abutment, because the water main is currently blocking any work on the west abutment and the furthest west pier. So with those things in mind, that's why they're not here. There's nothing for them to do right now. Plus, they also have probably a good week of cleanup on their site, and then replacing all the damaged cofferdams. And so, on top of that, as the water came down, you could see the large amount of debris that had piled up on the pier. Most likely that didn't move, but until you actually survey it and take a look at to see if it did move or if it did, that's a lot of flow pushing up against a decent amount of debris. And it creates enough force that it could have moved that pier. So if that's the case, then we're set back even further. I don't think a month and a half to 2 months is by any means an extreme amount. Maybe we could be even more than that.
Before they would be able to restart?
Lost time.
Okay.
Just, right now we were scheduled the end of October to be done. I mean, we very easily could be looking at into 2015.
Is that about the timetable for the water main too then? I mean, we need to.
No, the water main would be.
We can do that.
Much quicker, as soon as it
Much
dries
quicker.
out. Denver Underground, I guess I haven't discussed that yet. Denver Underground was the low bid at, or low quote at $38,000. Obviously, they're just in Dakota City, so they can mobilize pretty quickly once the river comes down to come down and do most of the work, wait for the tie-in till a Sunday, and then complete the tie-in. Get that project out of the way so that they can get the west abutment and the west pier completed. So hopefully we can get them in there, maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Depends on where the river's at. Obviously, they said anything that would require extreme dewatering, they said will not fall within the bid. So if we can't push them when the river's up so high and have them have 3 6-inch pumps in there trying to pump it out. So they're planning on a reasonable amount of dewatering, which means the river's going to have to get down to that 6-5 foot level, which we're supposed to be near that sometime next week. So
And then
7
once,
foot level, I guess, sometime next week.
then once that's done, they can resume work on the south water tower then?
That's a juggling act. Getting the water tower, right now they're testing the water tower to see if they can push pressure to the north water tower with the south tower down. They completed a hydrant. They wanted to make sure that they could control the amount of pressure that was in that area while it was pushing to the north tower. And so they had the hydrant installed that was intended with the water plant project, so that could provide some pressure relief. But we still don't have the information back yet on whether they can still push water to the north tower with the south tower completely isolated.
Okay.
Because the route that the water takes is a little bit meandering as opposed to the normal route that it travels through, which is a 12-inch that goes right by the water tower. So.
Is that something that we need to look to address later on if we needed a direct line somehow from the water plant to the north water tower, rather than having?
Not in our budget, it's not.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, it would
No,
be.
definitely not.
It'd be great to have more river crossings, but it's one of those things. We need redundancy on the north side. Right now, we're pretty much dependent on one 12-inch that feeds most of the industry in the north side. It'd be nice to get redundancy. I know the council's talked about that for 3 years or so, and it's just a matter of funding. River crossings are always a great thing to have, considering you're limited on how much you can get across that river, but it's expensive. I mean, every time you bore something, especially if you did it, you're talking probably about a 12-inch main, because you wouldn't want to do anything less.
Right.
12-inch bore through rock is awfully expensive. I mean, CenturyLink and Mid-American can fund that out of it. So.
Yeah, just that section we need, by my shop across the road, get around for 12 inch was $1.5 million or something anyway, just for that little section, so. No, it would be nice, but it's.
Yeah.
Won't happen in our lifetime probably anyway, so
Okay.
we'll keep plugging away. Alrighty, under resolutions, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-79. A resolution accepting a bid and authorizing the award of a contract contingent upon the receipt and execution of a grant agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration for the construction of a conventional hangar building for the city of Humboldt, Iowa.
This will accept the bid from Sand Construction for the hangar building.
So moved.
Second. Roll call vote.
Goodell,
Aye.
Slater.
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Congratulations, your project in Humboldt. Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-80. A resolution approving an application for federal aviation funding assistance for construction of the airport conventional hangar building at the Humboldt Municipal Airport.
This resolution will submit the application for the hangar project. The FAA is a little bit backward in the sense the city bids out the project and then submits the application for the grant. The application is largely a formality considering the FAA has been involved in the project through every step. And like I mentioned before, the project's a 10% local match.
Move. Second.
Roll call vote.
Slater.
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Goodell.
Aye.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-81. A resolution accepting a bid and authorizing the award of a contract for the construction of the airport runway slurry seal surface treatment improvement project for the city of Humboldt, Iowa.
This resolution awards bid to Fort Dodge Asphalt, and the project, like I said, is safe funded with 15% local match.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call vote.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Goodell.
Aye.
Slater.
Aye.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-82. A resolution accepting a bid and authorizing the purchase of a recycling truck.
The city received 3 bids for the recycling truck. They all have the same recycling body. It's a can recycling body through Elliott, but all were built on different trucks, either Freightliner or International. The bids were O'Halloran International at $144,853, Freightliner of Des Moines at $146,062, and I-State Truck Center at $143,625. Clayton would like to go with the slightly higher bid for the International with O'Halloran, with the added air conditioning, because the service issues could be addressed in Fort Dodge as opposed to Mason City with the 2 Freightliner bids. And the department currently has an International and has been pleased with its performance. Do you have anything you want to add with that?
I guess, do you guys have any questions for me?
The
Any of
old one
them.
is traded in, and this is less trade difference and stuff, is it, or this?
Yeah.
The total amount budgeted, I guess I should mention that, the total amount budgeted was $165,000, so we are beneath the budget. I don't think we got much on the trade,
10,000.
like 10,000. So.
Basically, the reason why we get nothing on the trade is the body itself is basically worth nothing to them. They'll take it off the truck and try and sell them, but the bodies are so rusted out that they probably won't do anything but scrap them or give them to somebody that needs a replacement box or something like that. And then the truck, it's an older truck, and they would have to shorten the chassis up most likely, just because of it's a single axle. And so they said it's not really. They're gonna have more work into it than just getting it and then sending it back out for somebody else to buy. So
I would move that we go with the O'Halloran International.
That makes sense.
Wait a second. Roll call vote.
Rusher.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Goodell.
Aye.
Slater.
Aye.
Scholl.
Aye. Clayton, if something were to happen, do they have like a replacement vehicle on hand or something like that for in Fort Dodge? Or how does that work?
not them. I would say probably Elliott out of
Oh.
Grimes or whatever. I would say they would probably have something that they could lend us while
Land is temporarily if there's
something.
a situation.
Yep. They've been pretty good for even Elliott. I know Leroy's taken like the old jet truck and stuff down to them. that's where our garbage truck came from. They've been pretty good people to deal with and service-wise and everything too. If we have any problems, they're usually pretty good, so.
One of the biggest problems they have is the plastics compaction on
Yeah,
the
the
recycling.
plastic
So-
compactor on the, basically on the one that we have now, we're starting to, every year you're putting a new cylinder in it, or, the plastic compactor runs basically all day long. It's constantly going back and forth, so that is the biggest wear item on the whole entire truck, is that, because it's constantly packing, and then it's blowing hoses, or, I think we've replaced both cylinders on it maybe twice now, since we've had it, so.
So, I mean, a lot of times it's not, it wouldn't be out of commission in a sense that
No.
you couldn't run it
No,
around. It's just
and
out of
if it
commission in the
comes,
sense you can't
when it
pack
comes down
plastic.
to it, like if something like that happens, we can run with just the scooters. It's just not as efficient as if you have a big truck. Cause basically those scooters go down the side streets and the big truck goes down the main run, and then the scooters come back and dump into the big truck. So that way they can keep going, where this way they would just have to fill scooters up and then just go down. But we did it a couple times this winter when it was really cold and it worked pretty good. One guy would go get plastic, one would get paper, and then one would get cardboard. And then they'd kind of rotate, and so then you could fill up a whole truck with material instead of just your little buckets.
How many years of service did you get out of the old truck? I mean,
I have them basically on a 10-year run, other than I think we bumped this one up a year, just cause I think it was ready to be replaced, and I think the way that when me and Aaron sat down and went through like my capital improvements over the years, this was a year that there wasn't anything really going on.
So that new cylinder every 5 years, it's not surprising for the compactor.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, yeah, probably in another 5 years, it's gonna start blowing cylinders, but this last time they thought on the cylinders that the company had maybe figured out what maybe the problem was. So, that cylinder hasn't blown yet, but we only have one cylinder that's like that right now, so.
We juggled it around a little bit, probably about, how long have you been superintendent now?
4 years.
About 4 years.
It'd be 4 years, 3 years, 3.5.
Whenever, when Todd left and Clayton came in, we looked at, that budget year, we looked at just kind of where everything was dispersed and trying to make sure that there weren't too many big budget items that fall in the same year on the same fund. Just because it gets outrageously expensive. And we were doing really small set-asides kind of every year towards things, and it just made sense to just get them, kind of how the street department has it, where you have everything spaced out so that you don't have too many expenditures kind of going on at the same time. So modeled after what Leroy had done with the
Yep.
street department, we
Most
spread them out.
big items are kind of looked at around 10 years after
Yeah.
they've been in service. Obviously, yes, they can go longer, but there's some of them that might have to go a little bit sooner than 10 years. But then we at least know that in 10 years, we're gonna need to start looking at doing something. So either fixing or replacing or.
And to be honest, right now, there's a decent amount of funding in the solid waste capital projects, that account, but looking at the next Packer truck that we've got coming up, that's the big reason that we had the budget increase in sanitation, was to try and cover that. Well, then the landfill costs went up, and that's gonna eat up most of what that increase was, so that's why I say possibly the next budget year, we're gonna have to increase it again, because we need to make sure that we have that fund balance to pay for that next Packer truck.
It's in,
so.
I think, 2021, I think is when that
So
one
you
comes
wanna
up.
make sure that fund builds up to that point, so we don't end up going negative on that fund. in the out years.
Thanks.
Alrighty, thank you.
Did we roll call that, Lawyer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-83. A resolution accepting the bid from and awarding the contract to Blacktop Service Company of Humboldt, Iowa for the 2014 roadway system maintenance project.
The resolution will accept the bid from Blacktop Service for the seal coating project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Davis,
Aye.
Goodell,
Aye.
Slater,
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye, sorry.
Rusher.
Aye.
Next, we need a motion to approve the following proposed resolution number 2014-84. A resolution approving pay estimate number 1 from Hovey Construction Incorporated, Fort Dodge, Iowa, in the amount of $66,305.25 for the Sumner Avenue Sidewalk Improvement Project.
Hobie's completed a good amount of work for the project, and I believe they've started working on the retaining wall
Yep,
section.
they got their forms in.
So, I guess if there's any questions, Gloria and I kind of talked about this during the department head meeting. She was still trying to figure out where the sidewalk's actually going, because it's a little confusing, and I know Dan and I had talked a little bit about it, so it must not be very apparent right from looking at it, but
Fairly rare.
but I think that it'll be a big improvement, and I know Nick's keeping a strict eye on it.
No, they've actually done all right.
You're doing okay.
Nice job on the right.
Christmas, we'll get Christmas. Yeah, to the water plant?
Yeah.
Toward that, I
Yeah,
know.
nice,
Yeah.
great job.
What about Mid-American moving those poles out? Is that hindering Hovey from progressing along in the
No, I
project?
think they're okay right now.
Are they?
Hobie hoped they had them moved before they started completely on the walls. The ones moved, I think they got the second one moved now.
Oh, okay.
So, it didn't really hold them up well. They're not the fastest all the time anyways, but, they're progressing at their smaller workforce as it allows, so.
Cool.
Oh, and I guess the one thing I would mention, they actually got the forms directly from the same people that did the bridge forms, so it will match identically. Before, we were just trying to tell them to match them up as well as possible. Now it's actually from the same company. So.
Same company there, and we had them get in contact with the people that were doing the staining and coloring and sealing of it to possibly use them to do that there also, so it would be exactly the same. I don't know if they're gonna go that route or not.
Yeah,
They haven't heard back from that one, but they have the contact information for that.
The facade on the retaining wall.
Correct,
It will
yeah.
look exactly like it is gonna be on the bridge. Yes. That's
Yeah.
great.
We need a motion.
Move.
Second. Roll call vote.
Goodell,
Aye.
Slater,
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
Rusher,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye. We've got Lance here with us, so I guess the next item we're just gonna table it now and talk about it, or what do we wanna do on that, Lance?
Sure.
Yeah, you wanna just kinda come up and we'll talk about this a little bit? This is about contract change order number 5 with IPT.
If it's okay, I might just kind of run through all 3 items that are
Okay.
kind of together. Just the first on the change order, just quick. The contractor called me back this morning and said, I don't